Hi, welcome once again to the Beer Temple. Just me this time, going solo. My name is Chris Quinn, and thank you guys as always for checking us out. I really appreciate it. Have a very fun show today, one that I've been wanting to do for quite a while. I have two beers here, both single hop beers, and that means that it is a beer using only one variety of hops for the entire beer. Typically there's beers use blends. In fact, that's almost completely standard. So much so that if they do use a single hop strain, they pretty much go out of their way to tell you very often. And probably, well, there are some pretty famous single hop beers out there. Liberty Ale from Anchor Steam is one, but Bell's Two Hearted is another. This is completely hopped with Centennial hops, and always has been, and it's kind of their flagship year-round beer. It's their IPA, comes in at 7%, or just about there, as far as I know, and like I said before, it uses only the Centennial hop. Centennial hop is an American hop from the Pacific Northwest. It's often considered one of the C hops, along with Cascade and Columbus, I believe. And they all kind of have that West Coast kind of, the word's escaping me, tropical, citrus, that's it. Grapefruity kind of flavor to it. And now there's even some more C hops. Now you can add probably Chinook in there, and really Citra, the brand new one. So all these C hops, when you have these big fruity flavors, oftentimes it's going to be those C hops used either individually or combined to give you those flavors. So like I said, Bell's has this Centennial IPA. Well, Founders also came out with a Centennial IPA, a single hop IPA using Centennial. Is it an homage to their bigger brother in Michigan? Who knows? My guess would be it probably wasn't conceived like that in a vacuum, and they just happened to say, let's do a single hop IPA and let's use Centennial. In fact, there's other breweries out there that are doing Centennial single hop beers. And considering that it's a pretty uncommon style of beer, the fact that so many times they are coming up with Centennial leads me personally to believe that Bell's Two Hearted did it. And I don't think they're trying to rip them off. I don't think they're trying to copy recipes by any means. But I think it is kind of cool, and maybe it's a little homage to this really awesome beer here, Two Hearted Ale. I'm just trying to think of who else has one off the top of my head. I'm just thinking of Ale Asylum in Wisconsin. If you guys can think of some more, I know McKellar has done the single hop series, which is actually pretty cool. You guys should check out if you haven't seen any of those beers before. But right now, let's talk about Centennial hops. And why don't I start with Founders, just because, I don't know, I thought about that. So, been getting more comments about this. I will leave the address where you can buy them in the show notes, or in the show description, I should say. Age on these beers. The Centennial IPA is a little bit older. This is, let me think, boom. It is about 10 weeks old. So it's about 2.5 months old. Still should be perfectly fine, but just wanted to let you know it's not like it's a 5-day-old beer or something like that. So really nice amber orange colors, kind of autumnal colors, very clear, good head retention, a little bit of a off-white kind of tan colored foam. All right, and the hop presence is certainly there. I'm getting a really nice kind of floral citrus note to it, with a little bit of kind of an earthiness underlying it, kind of a bit almost like not quite sap, but maybe you know what I'm talking about there. Really pleasant, not overbearing. It's pretty tamed by some IPA standards, but smells delicious. Very nice. Big notes of orange blossom here. You're getting a lot more of that kind of sappy, resiny pine undernote to it as well. good bitterness and just a really nice smooth finish as well. The bitterness kind of creeps up on you. It doesn't kind of attack your tongue in a bad way. Very, very nice beer. Founders, I don't think I talked about too much. We've had them on in the past, I believe. They are from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Awesome brewery. In fact, I talked last show about Three Floyds being named the best brewery in the world. Founders, I'm pretty much sure they consistently come in at number 2. So, you know, even more representing of the Midwest. Excellent beers by Founders. I'm off the top of my head forgetting how many times we've had them on before, but I promise we will have them in the future because it is tasty. As I continue to kind of sit here, the beer is also developing. It's getting more and more of that kind of marmalade quality to it, which plays very in that bitterness. So you got that kind of deep orange, and then the bite of it kind of gives you that kind of marmalade flavor. Very good beer. I'm going to go 91 with the Founders Centennial IPA. Had it been a little fresher or screamingly fresh, who knows, maybe those aromatic hops would have jumped out even more. As a beer ages, the first thing to typically go is the aromatics, or the hop aromatics, I should say. Followed later by the hop flavors, and then finally by the bitterness. But that certainly shouldn't be a case here. Like I said, I think today we're at the end of January, and this was the second week of November. So, okay, so maybe it's 11 weeks old, something like that. Still under 3 months, and I think you're safe if you're under 90 days. Moving on to the Bell's Two Hearted. Give myself a little bit of a rinse. This beer is a little over a month fresher. This was brewed mid-December, so we're about 6 weeks old for this beer. Again, not screamingly fresh, but fresh. And when I say not screamingly fresh, for both these beers, they are fresh beer. If we're talking about 6 months, 7 months, then I'd start to really think, okay, has this beer been compromised? But with hoppy beers, generally, fresher is better. There are some odd exceptions, pretty much to every rule. All right, let's see what we got here. Oh, my oven's preheated. Certainly a lighter beer. It's much more on the golden side, but there is that same orangish hue to it. Very clear. The head itself is also lighter as well, since it's a lighter bodied beer. It's going to be reflected in the head. Really nice kind of fluffy foam here. Very attractive beer. All right. Well, I'm not going to say these two beers are not unsimilar in their smell. And it is interesting. I mean, I don't want to compare them too much, but I mean, come on, I'm having 2 single hop Centennial IPAs on the show. I gotta put them head to head and call this, you know, a showdown or whatever the hell I call them. Anyway, this beer. Again, you're getting that really nice, fresh orange blossom flavor to it, with that underlying kind of woody bark flavor, and it just reminds me so much of like one of those flowering trees that you get. I don't know if, you know, an orange blossom tree is really in existence, but if it were, this is what it would smell like. Really, really lovely. Just really nice, intense, fresh orange. Oh man, this is excellent beer. There's just so much going on. The beer has so many layers to it, so much flavor, and it's kind of funny. I'm remembering now. I've actually talked with a pretty well pedigreed brewer about this beer before, and we were just going on about how, and I was talking to him about, and he was telling me how, which is, I basically just said the same thing twice now. Anyway, he was mentioning how it's amazing how much they get out of a single hop, how they're just extracting so many different profiles out of it. And when I sip it here, that's exactly what I was thinking. This thing was changing as I was just kind of swirling it around in my mouth. A lot of times I first get an upfront flavor and then a mid-level, kind of a mid-palate, and then the bitterness at the end. This was just completely transforming as I was drinking it. Yeah, I mean, wonderful floral flavors up front of kind of like a white flour, followed by that little bit of that malt just coming in on the backbone and playing off some of that fruitiness as well in the beer, some of those citrusy. I'm going orange. It's not quite the grapefruit. It's more of like a really wonderful ripe orange, followed finally by some of those earthy flavors. And this is still pretty much early on while I'm sipping it. Then I'm drinking it. I'm getting a nice rush of that orange back again, back from the woody flavor. And then finally just a wonderful slow burn bitterness to it. And right now I feel like I have orange flowers in my mouth. It is really a great beer. In fact, it's funny. I mean, if you knew that Two Hearted was such a great beer and you were a brewer and you wanted to do a single hop IPA, wouldn't you maybe go a different direction and choose a different IPA? You know people are always going to be thinking, well, is it as good as Two Hearted? In this case, I don't think the Founder Centennial IPA is quite up to task. I do think it's a delicious beer. It is a beer that I would order happily at a bar. Pretty much whenever. An exception to that would be if I saw that there was a Two Hearted on tap as well, or available as well. I mean, I'm always going to go with this Two Hearted. I just think it's just such a beautiful beer. Very drinkable. It's kind of deceiving with its alcohol. In fact, let me see. Yeah, this is 7.2%, so just even a hair stronger. But, you know, 7% IPA, that's pretty strong for an IPA. You know, there's double IPAs or single IPA if it's Sculpin. You know, I've mentioned that in the comments as well. Out from the West Coast that are up there, you know, mid-sevens, something like that. You know, Stone Ruination, I think, is mid to upper sevens. But in the Midwest, they kind of do it bigger. The double IPAs go to double digits. Getting back to the Two Hearted, great beer. I'm going to go 95 with it. A stellar example of an IPA. Very, very good. And the beer that I'm going to be drinking as I go cook my dinner in just a moment. But until next time, guys, thank you as always. I really appreciate the reviews. I got another one, and I'm just slow to give you guys shout outs for leaving them on iTunes. I always appreciate that very, very much, the reviews you guys leave. Taking the time to do that, it really means a lot to me. Also, keep the comments coming. Hope you guys liked all that Bourbon County stuff that we got for you. And we got a bunch of good shows coming up as well. But until then, I've got two great Centennial hop IPAs to drink, and hopefully you do too. Who knows?